There is a face that millions of people recognize, even if they don't know her name. She is calm. She is regal. She is carved from a single piece of ivory, so delicate that it glows when the light hits it. In 1977, the entire black world gathered in Nigeria for Festic, the largest festival of African culture in history. They wanted this face to be their symbol. But when Nigeria asked the British Museum to borrow the original mask, the answer was no. The symbol of African pride was held captive in a glass case in London. This is the story of the Benin ivories, the white gold of the Oba, and the violent theft that scattered them to the winds. Deep within the Rhine forest of southern Nigeria lay the Kingdom of Benin. This was not a loose collection of villages. It was an empire of structure and order. The capital, Benin City, was a marvel of urban planning, built with a mathematical layout that some mathematicians compare to fractals. At the heart of this city lived the Igbesimwan, the royal guild of ivory carvers. While the bronze casters were famous, the ivory carvers were sacred. They worked with the tusks of elephants, animals considered to be the physical counterparts of the Oba, the king. To carve ivory was to carve the spirit of the king itself. We often hear that Africa had no written history. This is false. They just didn't write on paper. They wrote on ivory. The Obas of Benin commissioned massive carved tusks to be placed on ancestral altars. These weren't just decorations. They were historical records. Reading from the bottom to the top, a historian could read the history of the kingdom. The wars won, the treaties signed, the spirits honored. The carving depicted Portuguese soldiers, mudfish, symbols of the war to god Olukan, and the Oba himself supported by his people. These tusks were the archives of the Edo people, preserved not in dusty books, but in the imperishable bone of the elephant. The most famous of all these works is the Mask of Queen Idia. She was the Ioba, the Queen Mother, in the 16th century. She was a warrior, a politician, and a mystic who helped her son, King Essegy, win a civil war. To honor her, the king commissioned these pendant masks. They are miracles of artistry. Look closely at the tiara on her head. It is adorned with tiny alternating heads, Portuguese traders and mudfish. It represents the Oba's control over both the trade with the white men from the sea and the spiritual world of the waters. It is rare to see a woman celebrated with such power in ancient art. She was the power behind the throne. But the sanctity of the ivory was shattered in 1897. The British Empire, hungry for control over the palm oil trade, demanded the Oba sign a treaty that would essentially give away his sovereignty. The Oba refused. After a diplomatic mission went wrong and British officials were killed, the empire retaliated with overwhelming force. They called it the Punitive Expedition. British troops stormed Benin City. They didn't just capture it, they burned it. And then, the looting began. Soldiers stripped the royal palace. They tore the ivory tusks off the altars. They grabbed the masks. They took thousands of sacred objects. Photos from 1897 show British officers sitting on piles of these artworks, smiling, surrounded by the spoils of war. The archives of Benin were packed into crates and shipped to London. They were sold at auction to pay for the cost of the bullets used to destroy the city. Today, the Benin Bronzes and ivories are scattered. You find them in the British Museum, in Berlin, in New York. For decades, the people of Benin have asked for them back. They argue that you cannot simply keep the stolen heritage of a people in a glass box. The Queen Idia mask, the one from the thumbnail, remains in the British Museum. To the museum, it is Artifact #1897. To the Benin people, it is the spirit of their mother. Ivory is durable. It survives fire. It survives time. The British burned the city, but they could not burn the art. These carvings are now acting as ambassadors. They are shouting the story of Benin's greatness to the world, proving that long before colonization, Africa produced art that rivaled Michelangelo and Da Vinci. They were stolen, but their silence is louder than any cannon.